Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It is 11/18, November the 18th, and we're lucky to be in a location where we don't have a lot of snow, and we hope not to see a lot of snow. But Thanksgiving is next week, and we hope everybody has some time to spend with their family, whether you celebrate that holiday or you just want to have some time away from school. We won't have a workshop next week, but we will be back the week after that. And so it's Friday. And I am happy to introduce my friend, the incredible, awesome Arel Moodie, who has been doing this with us for as long as I've been doing this with you guys. So about 15 years now, Arel has been coming back and speaking to members of the Hostos Student Leadership Academy, spreading knowledge, giving wisdom, telling bad dad jokes before everything happens, and basically being a really good mentor to a lot of folks that have been part of the program over the years. I'd like to welcome him back and say, Arel, take us on a journey today, something new, give us some knowledge, spin your tracks, make it all work for us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much, Jared. For anyone who's just joining, I'd like to apologize on behalf of every single dad joke that I told. And you know what? I want to apologize in advance because I'm going to tell more. And that's just what we're going to have to accept and deal with. Okay. Let me share my screen. Golly, my computer is acting bonkers right now. I ain't never seen it do this before. Hold on. Golly, is this our share screen? There we go. And then it stopped sharing it because I am a genius. Hold on, here we go. Here we go. Golly. All right, cool. Can y'all see my screen just fine? In the chat, let me know if you see my screen so I don't feel all self-conscious about myself. Thank you very much. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I am super excited about today's presentation because what we're going to do today is share what I believe, I genuinely believe, if there was one idea, if there was one concept that would be most important for us to learn at this stage of the game, I think we're going to do that. And, you know, I tried to think of what's the best way for me to like break down this concept of a hostess bunker. What does that mean? Like, what does that language mean? And I realized the best way for me to kind of explain it is to show it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a video in a moment. Okay. I want everyone to watch the video and then I'm going to ask you a question. So here we go. Just pay attention, see what you see about the video. Here we go. Okay, so that violin performer performed in the DC subway system. And this person received $32 in tips, people who stopped by and gave dollars, some change for the performance that they saw. Okay, so nothing unremarkable about what you saw, except one detail. This was a very popular, really important study. Okay, Mariella, who was that person? Can someone tell me who that person was? So that's a guy named Joshua Bell. Does anyone know? Put yes in the chat if you know who Joshua Bell is. If you were like me and you had no idea who Joshua Bell was, put no in the chat.
Name, and he's very known.
Yes. So let me break down who Joshua Bell is so you can understand the context of what was happening in that video. Joshua Bell is arguably the greatest living violin player in the whole world. He is the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James, the whoever you think is the GOAT of the game. That's who he is. Not only was he the GOAT of the game, him as a violin player, he was playing that violin, which is a Stradivarius violin, which is arguably one of the most beautifully well-designed violins of the whole world. And he was playing a piece of music that was arguably one of the most complex, difficult pieces of music that have ever been composed for the violin. So he plays it in a subway, gets 32 bucks. Okay. The night before, he did the exact same performance that he did in the subway, but instead of making $32 in tips, he was paid $110,000 for his performance. So this, my friends, is the question that I want to ask you. And please let me know what you think. No right, no wrong. I'm just curious. Is Joshua Bell a $32 performer or a $110,000 performer? 45 minutes of music. In one context, 32 bucks. In another context, 110,000. What do you think, though, in the chat? Which one do you believe he is? No right, no wrong, just your opinion. What do you think? Someone says he's both. Someone says he's 32. Great. Thank you, Sashi. Thank you for tuning, right? Someone says 110. Couple 110s coming in. Someone says both. This is what I believe the answer is. This is what I believe the answer is. I believe the answer is whichever one he chooses to see himself as. Hear me out for a second. I need to break this down. If he sees himself as a $32 an hour performer, then he is. And if he sees himself as a $110,000 performer, he is. He has proof of both. But let's go a little bit deeper. In one environment, who he is $32. The exact same person with the exact same skill in a different environment is a $110,000 performer. So let me go a little bit deeper with this question and ask you this. Don't answer this in the chat, just think about it. There may be people and environments that you surround yourself with where you might be the $32 performer. And you, who you are with the skill sets and experiences that you have, in another environment, you may be valued as a $110,000 performer. So is it not just how we see ourselves, but which environment we choose to see ourselves with? Whose eyes are we looking at when we look at ourselves? Now, if I know many of you, right? And I may not know you individually, I may not have met you before until today, but there's a concept that I want to share with you that's going to lead into what we're doing today, which is that you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Let me say that again. You cannot go back. Some of you came from different countries. Some of you grew up in really difficult situations. Look, you can't go back and change what happened to you, the challenges that you went through. You can't change those, the problems, the people who did not have your back the way you thought they would. You can't change that. But what you can do is start where you are. This moment with me, with Jason, with the rest of the Hostos family, and change where you decide to end up. And one of the first things you have to understand is a very important concept about which eyes do you choose to see yourself through. So allow me to give you some context and background on me. I'm from Brooklyn. Anybody from Brooklyn? I know we got Bronx. Hostos community. We're in the Bronx. So the Bronx is a very proud borough. I don't know if I've seen a more proud borough than the Bronx. Literally, if you walk up to someone, you say, "Where you from?" They throw the X's up and they start screaming. Brooklyn does that too. I'm from Brooklyn. I love the Bronx.
I'm from Brooklyn.
Who's from Brooklyn? Who's that? Who is that? I didn't see the name.
Me.
Oh, what's up? What's up? Which part of Brooklyn are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Which part? Which neighborhood?
I don't know, because I moved out when I was like 4, so.
Oh, so you have the roots in you, but then
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. So I grew up in an area called Canarsie, right? So find out if you can find out where you're from. I'm curious if it's anywhere close to us, right? But so I grew up in Canarsie, and this is the building I grew up in. And I show you this particular imagery because at one point My Glenwood housing projects was named one of the top 10 most dangerous housing projects in Brooklyn. It was number 7 on the top 10 list. And it was difficult for lots of reasons. I saw friends get shot at a young age. Friends get killed. I've had friends that went to jail at a very young age. And there was a lot of survival. There was me versus the world. And that's how it felt. Now, for some of you, and again, I don't know your background. I don't know where you're from. But I'm willing to bet there's many of you that have had life experiences that may have made you to feel like maybe you can't trust people. Maybe when you try to trust too many people, bad things happen. Or maybe when you have trusted people in the past, maybe they broke your heart or broke your soul or weren't there for you in a way. So you create this way of interacting with the world to protect. And it helps you survive and get through an experience. Some of you, maybe you're from a different country where some of the things that you saw and dealt with through your childhood was something that, like anything that happens in America, is a cakewalk for, right? We all have these incredibly interesting backgrounds. Some of us, maybe you don't have that at all. Maybe your challenges were totally different. Maybe they weren't environmental. Maybe they were mental. You know, how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, our comparison to other people. We may not want to do it, but we do it, right? So here's what's fascinating. And I want you all to catch this because this is the idea that I don't think gets talked about nearly as much as it should. And I think it's absolutely super important, game changing, which is this. These skills that every single one of you have built to get to the point you are today may not be the skills that you need to get from where you are to where you want to go. So I'm going to say that again because it's worth reflecting. Maybe, just maybe, the skills that got you where you are today, what allowed you to survive what you survived and get through what you've gotten through and thrive through what you've thrived through, are not the skills that's going to get you where you are today from where you want to be. Now, I found this picture of me from old school photos back in the day. Out of curiosity, in the chat, does anyone have a school photo with the lasers in the background? I don't know if they've done away with the lasers. Help me get caught up with the times. Do we still have lasers in the school photos in elementary school? It was like lasers, fall leaves, and library books. For some reason, that was the hot fire thing to do. And for me, I always went with the lasers. They don't do the lasers no more, man. It's a travesty. The lasers was the dopest background. You couldn't tell me I wasn't the coolest kid. Okay, they did have the library books, Shashi. Those were dope. Okay.
And they had like the folds up, but I don't remember. It was like a long time.
Yeah, like the fall leaves. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, the leaves are changing and it's falling in the background. Now you got green screen. You can do whatever you want with green screen. Like we didn't have green screen back in the day, right? Now, I want to point out a couple of things to you about this picture because it's perspective about what got us where we are might not be what gets us where we want to be. Now, let me break down this picture because they say a picture says 1,000 words, and I think this picture says, I used to look at this picture and I hated it. I hated this picture. And the reason why I hated it is because when I was younger, I'm going to tell you what I saw about this picture. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is, this is my mom in the center, and this is my brother. For those of you who are wondering, why do I look the way that I look? My father is a dark-skinned Jamaican man, right? So shout out to my Jamaicans. And my mother is a white Jewish woman, okay? So I like to call myself Jamaican. Jamaican?
That's fire.
Okay, I got one. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got one pity laugh.
Stop using my computer.
I got one.
Yeah, that's fire.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, anyway, Jamaican, right? So that's my mom, that's my brother. Now, I want you to notice a couple of things. First thing I want you to notice is my brother's shirt is a short sleeve shirt. My mother's shirt is a short sleeve shirt. Why in the heck am I wearing a big old winter sweater? Well, because this shirt is a collared shirt that was given to you. It's called Cub Scouts, which is like a subsidiary of the Boy Scouts. So if you join Cub Scouts, you got a free collared shirt. So my brother got this collared shirt, and as a younger brother, I didn't own any clothes that were my own. Everything was a hand-me-down. Everything was a hand-me-down. So this is my brother's sweater that he was given as a gift. How do you know this is my brother's sweater? You see my wrist right here? You see my wrist? This sweater is clearly too big for me. Clearly it's too big, right? You can see it's a super long sweater, but that was the nicest thing we had. My brother owned it, so I wore it. Next thing I want you to point out, you see my hair and you see my brother's hair? Every other kid on picture day, they would come in looking lined up. They had the like fade and the point was looking sharp. They had the point, if they had big hair, it was moosed up and gelled up and they was looking sharp. Me, we didn't get haircuts like that. So we did the pat it down. I don't know if anyone has ever had parents who made you do the pat it down method. Basically, you don't get haircuts. You just keep patting it down until it's uncontrollable. And then your hair looks decent when you're in the morning, and 5 minutes into the day, it looks absolutely a mess. That was the hair we had. We didn't get haircuts. And then it was the worst. I don't know if anyone's ever got a parent haircut. I don't know if parents still even do this. But when I was a kid, my dad would not send me to get haircuts because they cost too much. He would cut my hair himself, and that was the worst thing that's ever happened. It was horrible, right? So I just didn't do it. So I would look at this picture, and it would remind me of the fact that I didn't own things, I didn't have money, and I was poor, right? If you look at me, I'm not even smiling, right? Like I like to smile a lot now, but in this picture, not smiling at all. Now, here's what's fascinating. I want you to catch this. I was helping my mom move. She lives near me now. And I found this picture and it looked really different to me. I actually got to look at this picture through a completely different set of eyes. Now the picture is exactly the same, exact same picture, but I see it differently. I'm going to tell you what I see now. If you remember when you were a kid and you took photos for school, you took a photo by yourself, didn't you? You had a class photo, don't get me wrong, you had the class photo, which was the group, but you would do a photo by yourself. That's what you do. My mom said, no. We do a family photo. Me, you, and your brother, we come together. And I think it was my mom's way of saying, we may not have a lot of things, but we have love. We got family. And when I look at it now, it means an incredible much. It means so much to me because what I realized is my perspective was focusing on everything I did not have instead of focusing on what I actually did have, which was a family that loved me. So I ask you, when you look at your current life situation, right? Some of you in Harlem right now, I see you Harlem, some of you in the Bronx, some of you are dealing with things and some of you are having a good go right now. We're all in different places, but my question is, are you focusing on what is right or are you focusing on everything that's wrong? Because that picture hasn't changed. The only thing that changed was my perspective. And one of the things that I invite you to consider as we continue to go with this program is this simple truth. And I want y'all to pay attention real quick because I know in the virtual world, who knows? Some of us, right? You know how virtual do. Some of us are clipping our toenails right now. Some of y'all got your phones up and you're checking what's going on at TikTok. You're like, oh Lord, how did Pete Davidson pull that model? How does he keep winning? I gotta find out his secrets, right? It's easy to get distracted in the virtual world. I'm fully aware of that. But I want you to get pulled in because I'm about to share something that's very important. Because in the environment that we once grew up, that many of you dealt with, you get conditioned to survive it. What do you have to do to build a skill set and a mindset to get from point A to point B? Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday. I just want to get through this. You know, people start asking questions like, what do you want to do in 5 years, 10 years? You're like, yo, I'm just trying to get to Friday, man. Like if I get to Friday, I'm good. So this whole like, what do you want to do in 5 years? It doesn't make sense to me. So maybe how you've looked at your past needs an upgrade. And maybe how you choose to spend your time today, maybe, I don't know if it does, might need a perspective shift. Because what I can tell you is, no matter where you start, you can go into incredible places. You know, for me, even though the start was really challenging, college was where my whole life changed. It really, truly was. When I was in college, that's where I like got really focused on school and really focused on like not trying to like be someone that I wasn't. I spent the first like 17, 18 years of my life trying to just be someone I wasn't to survive like the Brooklyn experience. But in college, I could find people who cared about the things I cared about. I can find friends that cared about the things that I cared about. So this is me when I graduated from Binghamton University, which is a upstate New York school. And from there, from college, like everything changed. I got introduced to entrepreneurship. I was able to travel around the country and do speaking engagements. I've written best-selling books. I've been on different television shows. And I've got to do things that honestly, I never thought was possible. Some of the things that I've gotten to do is speak in 48 states, 5 countries. I've spoken to over 750,000 people. I've been featured in things like the New York Times, USA Today, Forbes, Black Enterprise, Essence. And I was on TV shows like The Doctors, where I was a contributor, and I've given multiple TEDx talks that have hundreds of thousands of views. I've been acknowledged by presidents. I've spoken at the White House. I've been in things like Inc. magazine. And one of the things that I'm actually really excited about, I'm very, very excited about, because if you would have went to the younger version of me and asked the younger version, what things might you accomplish and do in your adult life, some of the things that I showed you, I wouldn't have imagined. And I think the younger version of me would be very proud of what I'm about to show you. Out of curiosity in the chat, does anyone have Disney Plus? Out of curiosity?
I do. I have a question though.
Yeah.
Are you famous or something? Because all these videos, everything, really on news.
I mean, it depends who you ask. If you ask my kids, they're like, that's just a dude who picks his nose randomly. So let me show you this, and I'll give you a reference point, right? So if you have Disney Plus, I highly recommend checking out this particular show. So this programming is something I'm very proud of, and allow me to show you a very, very quick video about it.
As a family, we're spinning wheels in different directions often.
We can't even find time to have a meal together.
We wanted to get together as a family and forget about all of our daily schedules. So we reached out to Family Reboot.
Girls, we have to get going.
Technology in here.
Let's go.
I'm Mike.
My name is Spirit.
And I am your reboot guide. This week is all about connection. I really hope that we can give your family that fun together time.
How do I look?
This is something that is going to guide the rest of our life.
I really love you guys, you know, from the bottom of my heart.
Whatever we do, I just hope my hair don't get messed up.
Streaming only on Disney Plus.
So I'm very proud of that because, yo, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Because if you would have went to me, the kid in the projects, and said, yo, one day you're gonna host the show on Disney Plus, and one day you're gonna speak at the White House, and one day you're gonna give TEDx talks, and one day you're gonna do all these cool things, I think that version of me would be proud of who I am, number one, but two, may have been in a little disbelief. Because the idea is where we start has nothing to do with how we end up and where we finish. And if we could, what I'd love to do is share with you what I genuinely believe is, I don't stop sharing my screen. Hold on, y'all. Let me done share the screen. Bang. There we go. Let me get this back up for y'all. Come on, screen sharing. Work for a brother. There we go. They're wonderful. They got the dang. There we go. All right. So what I'd like to share with you is what I genuinely believe changed the course of my life very, very deeply. And if you can grasp this concept right now, regardless of what your ambitions are, if your ambitions are to become very successful, if your ambitions are to have a great family, if your ambitions just to be happy, I want to show you a concept that I think will actually move you closer to that goal that almost nobody talks about in the way that I think we're going to talk about it. So if y'all are ready to jump in and learn some of these strategies, get some of this goal, do me a favor. Can I get a let's go in the chat? Spell it however you want to spell it. But we're in the virtual world, people. This is the only way I know if you're paying attention or if you're not paying attention. So give me a let's go in the chat if you were with me. And let's get the dang thing started. Thank you, Sashi, coming with the extra lessons. My man, thank you. Armani, I don't know what your friend's name is. What is your name, friend of Armani? I want to know. Tell me who. Jason with the let's go. Can I get some more let's go? Thank you, Boo. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Jason.
Let's go.
Oh, Joey, what up, man? I see you. And I like you,
That's
Joey.
Joey Armani. And he keep using
I like Joey. Joey holding it down. I appreciate you, Armani. Holding him down. We got another friend just came out of nowhere. You got the whole squad with you. Let's talk about this because that's going to be very relevant to stuff we're talking about here. Thank you, Brian. All right, so the bunker. What is a bunker? I'm going to give a real simplistic explanation of this. I want us to grab it, okay? Is anyone here a veteran or served in the military, by the way? We have a diverse group of people. If anyone serves in the military or has family. What's that, Joey?
Mom's a veteran.
Your mom's a veteran. Thank you to your mom for her service. I didn't serve in the military. I got family that served, that are veterans. So the veterans have a very high level of respect in my world because of my family. And I understand that our freedoms are not free. People pay prices for that, right? So I'm gonna give a very oversimplistic idea of how war works. And I want you to catch it. Over here, we got the good guys. And over here, we got the bad guys, okay? Good guys, good girls, bad guys, bad girls, okay? In between, when they're fighting, there's this area that's called no man's land. In no man's land, this is where bombs burst and bullets fly. It's very dangerous. So what gets built in this dangerous place is something called bunkers. A bunker is this safe haven that when you're in the bunker, you know a couple of things to be true. The first thing you know is the person to your left and to your right got your back. If they're in the bunker with you, that means they're on your side. Anyone outside, you can't be fully certain who they are and what side they're on. But if you're in the bunker, I know you got me and I got you. In addition to that, I know that this is where I'm safe. Outside of that, who knows what will happen? Now, what I believe is that it's not about what stands in front of you. It is not about what stands in front of you. It's actually more about who stands beside you. Who stands beside you? I want you to think about this for a moment. You could have the greatest life, but if you got bad people in your life sucks. Out of curiosity, has anyone here ever had a job before that was the work itself was bad, but the people were good? Has anyone had the experience before? So you may not have liked the work, but the people were good. Or maybe conversely, you had a job where the job was actually good, but the people weren't good. So the people will affect how much you like a job significantly more than the job itself. So what I want you to grasp is that it's not about the what, it's about the who, right? So one of the things I invite you to consider is to get into the Hostos bunker. So what does that mean? Well, maybe some of y'all are living a life and it's working just well. But maybe some of us are realizing that we want more at this point in our life. Maybe how you've been doing things aren't doing it like it used to. Maybe there's some of us here that you're realizing you've been doing everything by yourself and it's exhausting. And you've been trying to do this one man, one woman wolf pack thing and it's not getting you as far as you thought it would by now. Maybe you have to realize that like being a part of a team isn't a weakness. It means that you have strength in numbers. Maybe if you've been doing things by yourself, allow me to ask you a simple question. There might be some of us on this line right now that think nobody owes me anything. If it's up to me, then it will be. Success is on my shoulders. I got to get it done. I'm going to make it happen. If that has been your mindset, allow me to ask you a very simple question. How's that been going for you? How has that been working? Is it working? Are you getting all of the riches and the happiness that you want? Or is it that like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to expand what I think it takes to become successful? Because what I can tell you, the single most powerful thing you can do at this stage of the game is realize that you cannot think your way into right action. You must act your way into right thinking. I'm gonna say it again. You cannot think your way into right action. You must act your way into right thinking. I do not doubt every single one of us are here because we want to be successful. You're not going to show up on a Friday to a virtual session if you're trying to be like everybody else. If you're showing up to a session like this, it's because you're trying to get the most that you can. You're trying to learn if you can learn one little idea, you know it'll give you the power to kind of create a different pathway. And not only do you want that for the people who've been nice to you, for your mom, for your dad, for your grandparents, maybe for a brother, sister, or child. But if we want to get to the next level, we have to realize that it's not about what we think, it's about what we do, and our thoughts drive our actions. And I'll prove it to you. How many people here genuinely feel in the chat? How many people genuinely feel like going to the gym every single day? I'm not one of those people. I will tell you right now. I do not feel like working out every single day. Okay. Shout out to Sashi. You are an outlier. Okay. Sabrina, holla at you. Okay. Oh my God. Everybody here, such big fitness people. I'm going to tell you this. I don't feel like working out every day. Do I work out every day? Yes. Because whenever I'm about to work out, I'm never excited about it until I finish the workout. And then I always feel like it was the right choice. You see what I'm saying? Now, there are some of us like, yo, God bless y'all. If y'all like look forward to going to the gym and that's your thing, yo, I support that. I'm not built like you. But I know if I just wait to work out only when I want to, I ain't never gonna do it. I can't think my way in going to the gym, but what I can do is just do it. Just go. You know, there's a guy on this line, his name is Bert. One of the things that we do is we hold ourselves accountable. Twice a week, we work out together. We jump on the phone, we go for a run, or we lift weights or whatever. We talk about what's going on. And there's so many times, I promise you, and Bert, you could back me up on this one, where I was like, if you didn't call me, I wouldn't have worked out today. If you didn't text me and be like, say, yo, we working out, I would have been like, I would have skipped it. Because I don't want to, right? Bert, am I right? Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's that culture and the fact that I know you're counting on me and you know I'm counting on you. So.
But that's how it works, right? So if I know the action is this guy's counting on me, I got to show up. So I'm going to get it in, even when I don't feel like it. So we need a couple of things to make this happen. The first thing that we need is community. How do we build a bunker? Well, the first thing is community. Now, here's what's fascinating. You've heard this 1,000 times. Be a part of community, 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 community. Let me break it down a little bit differently so you can understand why community is such a fascinating concept. Now, out of curiosity, in the chat, how many people can genuinely say that they know everyone in their neighborhood, or if you live in an apartment building, you know everyone in your building? Give me a yes in the chat if you can honestly say that. If you're like me and you know some people, but not everybody.
I do.
Who's that?
Joseph.
Joseph. Shout out to Joe. Joe out here making friends, right? Which is important. Now, what's fascinating, what I found about neighborhoods, I just want you to catch this for a second. In neighborhoods, typically, people will have a block, like there's one street, and I know people on the street. Or I might know this neighbor over here and that neighbor over here, okay? But most people, they don't actually, like you. If you go 2 blocks down, you don't know people over there. You might wave at them, you might say hi, but do you know them? Well, not really as much, right? And for those of you that are actually building connections in your community, that's amazing because it's really not that common nowadays. So what happens is people don't actually get to know each other. If you look at your college campus, like a lot of people might see people, but they don't really know people. So we don't actually have community in the same way that we once did. So when you get into this environment, and some of us, by the way, you grew up in an environment where it's like the less people you knew, the safer you were, right? And again, everyone has a different story. But if you've had a story that resonates with that in any shape, form, or fashion, then what you get is sometimes you let some people in and sometimes you don't. So what happens when we get to this space, into college, we start bringing that skill set with us. Now, if you are one of those people that gets to know everyone, continue that skill set here in college. But there are some of you that are like, yo, I don't really talk to many people. I show up, I mind my business. Because what we are conditioned to do, because of our environment where we grow up, is to mind our business and not do nothing. Because if I don't bother you, you don't bother me, and no problems get set, right? A lot of times, I noticed, for me growing up, a lot of problems happened because I was around the wrong people. And this is fascinating. This is fascinating. I did a presentation at a juvenile detention facility, right? So there's people under the age of 18 who have been incarcerated. And I asked them a very interesting question. I said, how many of you here, this is not your first time behind bars? You've been locked up more than once. Out of about the room, I'd say 90% of them rose their hand. And then I asked him a really interesting follow-up question that just came to me at the moment, and the response was very fascinating. So I want to ask you a question. 90% of the room raised their hand, and they said it was their first time here. Of that 90%, I then asked them another question. I said, or I asked, when you got arrested the first time, were you alone or were you with people? All 90% of them, so 100% of the 90%, rose their hand and said they were with people. Give me your guess. I said, out of curiosity, when you got arrested the second or third time, were you with the same people that you were with when you got arrested the first time? What percentage of the people do you think rose their hand? Right, so out of 100% of people who were there more than once, what percentage of them, if you had to take a guess, throw it in the chat, whatever you think your guess is, what percent of them do you think were with the same group of people the first, second, and third time that they got arrested with on that first time? So I'm seeing 80%, 50%, 75%. Great questions. 100%. Literally every single kid, and I'll call them kids because they were young, the people they made the crime commitment with the first time is the same people that they did it with the second or third or maybe even fourth time. So what does that say? What they realize is like, yo, the people you hang out with has sometimes the largest influence in what you do. Now, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Some of y'all like, not me. I'm independent. I do me. I don't let other people influence me. Maybe. Maybe. That could be true. That could be true. What's also possible is we could rise and fall to the level of expectation of the people around us. One of the reasons why I believe exposure is so important. What I mean by exposure is I think kids in the hood need to come to college campuses and see it. They need to go to wealthy neighborhoods and see how they, if they aspire for that, of course, see like what it looks like. Because when you get exposed to it, you start realizing that maybe the way that you've been playing the game has been good enough for the environment you've been in, but for the environment you want to go to, you've got to level it up. One of the best things that ever happened to me when I was like 15 to 16, I went to a city college and just spent the weekend on a college campus. And when I was there, I got to see an environment that was different than anything I had seen before. And I realized, yo, I can fit in here. I can do this. So a lot of the times your exposure, maybe it ain't with the people you've been with. Maybe it is. I can't tell you that. That's your decision. But what I can tell you is the people on calls like this, people like Jason, the Hostos Leadership Academy, these are the people that give you the opportunity to actually grow. But you know what? I can talk about this, but let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little deeper. We need community to succeed. Do you know what else we need? Oh, this is going to be fascinating. Check this out. You need this to succeed. Not want, not optional. You need this. And you need adversaries, okay? You need people that are in the community, but you also need people to actually fight against, or maybe not people, but something. Now, this is fascinating. An adversary, most of us think of it as a person, an enemy, something like that. Now, this is my invitation for you to consider. One of the adversaries that I want you to do is I actually believe that you should fight ideas and not people. So you should fight things like poverty, not poor people. You should focus on how do I get out of a bad environment and get into a good one. That should be the adversary, overcoming that. How do I set myself up so I have more money to take care of myself and my family than I'll ever need? That's the problem. It's never a person. It's never like Jason holding you back or a boss holding you back or a professor holding you back. When you make people your problems, everybody loses. When you make ideas your problems, then everyone wins. But if we confuse what we should do within community, we actually will make the community the problem. Where I don't think that's what it is, because let's talk about what destroys the bunker safety. Let's say that you say, all right, Arel, I like this idea of being around people. Being in a bunker where I have safety, where I come into the Hostos Leadership Academy. These people got my back, I got theirs. I like that idea. But why doesn't that environment exist? Out of curiosity, I'm curious. Let's do a quick temperature check. In the chat, give me a yes if you know what it feels like to be in an environment where people have your back and you have theirs. And give me a no if you're like, I actually don't know what that feels like. So like if you've generally been with a group of people and you're like, I know they got my back and I've got theirs, I know what that feels like, give me a yes. If you're like, yo, I actually am not sure if I know what that feels like, give me a no in the chat. Okay, so everyone's gonna have a different thing. If you have a no, it's totally fine. I'm seeing a bunch of yeses come in. I see Annie, I'm seeing Boo, I'm seeing Sabrina, I'm seeing Francine and Sheridine and Sashi. This is wonderful. Big yes, okay? Now this is what's powerful. What I'm gonna show you is if you've had that experience before, what is not present, and this is big, because as you continue to grow with the Hostos Leadership Academy, you're gonna find out that to create safety in this bunker, 4 things cannot be present. If any of these 4 things are present, there's no safety in it. So if you show up to Hostos and you feel one of these 4 things, you're not gonna feel like this is your space. But for those of you who are like, yo, I know what it feels like to have people got my back and I got theirs, these 4 things will either destroy it, and if you've ever had a group of friends that like started out tight and then it broke apart, one of these reasons is probably the culprit. So the first thing, it's called filtering. If you like taking notes, I highly recommend writing some of this down because this is where it's gonna get really interesting. Filtering, okay? Filtering is where you magnify the negative aspect of every situation. For example, let's say you failed the test this month. You focus on this and you ignore the fact that you passed all other exams. So one of the things that I want you to consider right now, just self-reflect for a moment. Do you filter out things when they go well and put more of your attention on when they go poorly? If you do, this is going to destroy the sense of the bunker, because what's going to happen is you're going to have all these great things. Jason's going to do great things. He brought in Jessica last week. He's bringing me in this week. He's going to bring in other incredible people. And he's going to do this work for you and do all this stuff. And you're not going to notice it. You're not going to appreciate it because we're just going to remember the one thing that maybe didn't go the way that we wish it did. Or the one thing that wasn't like as good as we wish it was. So the first thing that I want you to bring your attention to is, do you filter? Do you look at your life? Now, if you want to know how well you filter, it's a simple question. I ask people this, it's very simple. I'm not going to ask any of you to answer this. I just want you to think about it. If you ask somebody, yo, tell me something going good in your life. And you go, oh, I can't call it, nothing, same old, same old. There's a good chance you're filtering. Because I can ask, if I go in a group of 100 people and I say, yo, tell me something that pisses you off right now about life, everybody can give me multiple answers. I say, tell me one thing going great in your life right now, you get crickets. Well, why is that? Well, it's because of filtering. Because if you focus on what's wrong, you're gonna get more what's wrong. So if you wanna build this concept of a bunker, this concept of people who've got your back, one of the things you have to do is make sure you're not using filtering. The second thing is called personalizing. First one's filtering, second one is personalizing. What's personalizing? Personalizing is when something bad occurs, you automatically blame yourself. Let's say you got a text chat, like a group chat going on. So you text a text group. You feel like everyone takes longer to reply than normal. So you start thinking to yourself, you know what? Everyone's probably mad at me. Or they don't want to be friends with me anymore. This is called personalizing. So what happens is the moment something goes wrong, we make ourselves the problem versus giving people within our bunker the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't reply to you in the group chat because maybe they was taking a test. Maybe they was in the subway and they didn't have service. Maybe they had their phone off. Maybe they was on airplane. Maybe there was something else, right? But if we notice this personalizing of everything, then anytime something doesn't go perfect, you assume it's your fault, and then you stop trusting the people around you, right? So question comes in, what about people who feel that they put negative and feel that if they are this way, positive will come instead? Yeah, it never works that way, Sashi. Don't believe me on it. I know people who do this. They everything is the worst, so that if it's bad, they feel prepared for it. And if something is good happen, they get surprised by it. I encourage you to try a different philosophy. So just try this on. I'm not saying it's gonna work for you. I'm saying you can just try it. I believe we should be 100% committed to the process and 100% detached from the outcome. I'm going to say that again. 100% committed to the process, 100% detach from the outcome. So what that means is I don't have to think negative. I don't have to think, oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, they're not going to pick me, not in a million years. And then they pick me and I get elated, because most of life, by the way, is failure. That's most of life. If anyone tells you any different, all I do is win. That's not true. Most of life is failure. So if you believe you fail and then you fail, it reconfirms in your mind that you are a failure. However, if you're dedicated to the process, look, all I can be dedicated to is the fact that I showed up for the award. I did everything that I could. I submitted to get the award. I'm dedicated to the process it takes to win this award. If I win it or don't win it, I'm fully detached from the outcome. That's totally different. I'm going to be 100% committed to the process of studying, the process of trying to get a good grade. If I get a good grade or not, I can't control that, but I can be 100% dedicated to the process. So one of the things I would encourage you, Sashi, to try on, right, and see if it fits for you, is saying, I'm going to be 100% dedicated to the process moving forward, but 100% detached from the outcome. If you become dedicated to the process, then you start falling in love with 99% of what life is, which is the process. And this is probably like, this is something that some of y'all are going to remember I say this today, and it's not going to make sense to you for like 10 years from now. Some of you are going to get this right away. Everyone's different with this one. But so much of life is focused on the outcome, and the outcome, the goal, any goal that you achieve represents maybe 1 to 5% of what life actually is. The rest of life is process. So if you actually fall in love with the process, you'll be good. If you fall in love with working out, even when you don't want to, instead of having six-pack abs, you will get six-pack abs. But if you only focus on the six-pack abs, until you get it, you feel unhappy. And then when you get it, you spend so much time not feeling joyful about it that you don't even care anymore. So you gotta be dedicated to the process, but detached from the outcome, okay? So try it on, Sashi. Let me know how it goes. I'm the only Arel Moodie in the world, so if you want to find me on social, it's real easy. All right, let's do 2 more of these. Catastrophizing. So the third thing that destroys the bunker safety, you automatically anticipate the worst. Does that sound familiar, Sashi? For example, you get called into Jason's office and you automatically think you did something wrong. My boy Amani did that earlier. Amani, I'm not shouting you out because there's anything wrong with you. I'm shouting you out because I just want to bring attention and awareness to the fact of how the mind works. I called you out earlier. I was like, yo, I'm going to tell you a joke. And he's like, oh, snap. Why I get in trouble? The first thought was like, oh, if he's calling me out, I got to have done something wrong. Jason calls me to his office or calls me to talk. Clearly, I did something wrong. Why else would he holler at me? That's called catastrophizing. If you automatically anticipate the worst, then what happens is your mind focuses on the worst. And what I found too many times to think it's a coincidence is that those of us who focus on the worst, we tend to get it. So if we become committed to the process and not the outcome, it changes how catastrophizing shows up. And then the fourth one is polarizing, okay? You either see yourself as perfect or horrible. There is no in between. So you either are crushing it or you're missing out on everything. There's no in between. So for example, you lost your temper with a friend. So therefore you must be a horrible friend. I can't believe I yelled at my friend, or I can't believe I did this. I'm a horrible person. We polarize. We choose one or the other. If you choose one or the other, you're either living in a world of perfection or you're living in a world of horribleness. Now, let me ask you this. Statistically, where do you think you're going to spend more time? Being perfect or feeling horrible if you choose polarization? It's pretty straightforward. Horrible. Why? Because this is the only 2 options, and so many of us are going to fall short on so many things. So what do we do with this? What do we do with this? So here's what I want us to do. You know what? I think it'll be easier if I want you to think about something. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or focusing on what didn't go right, let's try something else. Everyone, I want you to take a moment and I want you to think for a moment and ask yourself, and you can throw it in the chat when you're ready, okay? I want you to think of someone in your life. If they're in the Hostos Leadership Academy, that's a plus. If you don't have someone that can answer this question, that's okay as well. But in the chat, I want you to put in the name of someone that over the last 6 months, maybe year, you felt like they've truly had your back. And maybe they just did one thing. Maybe it was like a simple thing. It wasn't like a big thing, but for you at the time, it was big. Maybe they checked in with you when you felt like you were low. Maybe they showed up for you in a positive way. So I want everyone to think of someone, and when you have that person, just throw their name in the chat, okay? Thank you, Bert. Very kind of you. Thank you, Sashi. So take a couple of moments, think. And I want you to really think over time. Who was it? What was something that they did that created a good experience for you? Something that really meant something to you. And once you have that person's name, I want you to throw it in chat. The name is going to be the important thing. I want you to hold someone. Now, you might have a bunch of people. Some of you got like a squad. That's all good. I want you to actually think of one person just for this particular exercise. So Sasha, you said Liz and Lena, so that's great. I want you to hold one person in your mind, okay? Doesn't mean you like Liz more than Lena. Doesn't mean Lena's better than Liz. Liz is better than Lena. That's not it. But like if we did like more than one person, this exercise would take too long. So just like randomly choose one and hold on to them. I'm for this. Sabrina, you said Shanique, Grandma, Chantel, Sam. Wonderful. Choose one person, Sabrina. And hopefully I'm saying your name right. If I'm saying it wrong, please correct me so I'm not butchering your name throughout the rest of this talk here, right? But I want everyone to think about it. Okay, so you got your one person. So Sabrina, choose one. Again, it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. This isn't like a popularity contest in any shape, form, or fashion. I just want everyone to think of just one person for illustrative purposes, okay? Just one person. So as you have that person in your mind, what I want you to do next is think of, why did you choose this person? What did they do? How do they act? How do they speak to you? How do they show up for you? Maybe it was a big thing they did. Maybe it was a small thing. So take some time and really and don't just be like, oh, Shanique's cool. Lena's nice. That's what it is. No, but what is it? What is it that this person does for you? Get really clear. I'll give you about 2 minutes to think and just get present for a moment and ask yourself, what is it that this person does? I'll be quiet and I really want you to think about this. Is important. On the other side of this is going to be very important. Okay. So Sashi says, when I was at my worst, Lena helped me the most with my daughter, and I'll never forget it. That's beautiful. Sasha, do you mind unmuting yourself? Are you in a position to unmute yourself? Is that okay? Is it okay that I called on you? Is that fine?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Sashi, tell me more, as much as you feel comfortable, of course, this is your story, okay? How did this person show up? Tell me more about it so I can understand Lena and how she showed up for you and your daughter.
So basically, my daughter doesn't really have a father like that. So I was living in Pennsylvania and I was basically by myself. And sometimes I did have to leave my daughter alone in the house. And she was too young to be left alone in the house. Lena was my friend who said, don't worry about it. I'll go over to your house and I'll grab her and I'll bring her over to my house. And she would make me feel better when I was at work doing 13-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm. So knowing that somebody was there to take care of probably the most, if not one of the most important people in your life, knowing that someone was willing to go the extra mile to support you while you were doing what you needed to do, that feeling of, wow, someone's got me through this period, that person was absolutely meaningful to you. Is that right? Cool.
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Sabrina, can I ask you to unmute? Can you unmute?
Yes. Yes.
Is it okay that I called on you? Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Can you tell me more about Shanique? Who is Shanique?
Well, I call her my righty.
Tell me more about your righty.
She's been my friend since, 2008. Yeah. 2007. I don't know, somewhere back there. But more so, she's recently, we both started school at the same time, so she's like a big encouragement. Because she knows like a lot of people doubted me because I tried to go back to school 2 other times and just never completed it. Mm-hmm. So she always hits me up at least once a week and, hey, how's school going? How was that test? Did you pass? What's your grades looking like? So she's like a big supporter, and I do the same thing for her. Ask her how her grades is. We share it with each other before we post it online. As a matter of fact, we having a nice good friend date next Saturday to just have some drinks and whatnot, because we haven't done that in so long.
Yeah.
We used to do it like once a week, have a nice friend date and just release. So we're doing that next Saturday.
And Sabrina, tell me, what does it mean to you to know that you have a friend like that that you can count on, that encourages you, that doesn't see you for who you were, but sees you for who you are?
It's great. It makes a lot of things in my life feel better. So it's not like I'm having like people like not waiting for me to fail, but it's still in the back of their mind, like, is she really going to finish this time? Even though I got a whole year in and I'm graduating in May, but it's still in the back of their mind, is she going to finish it all the way through? So it's kind of good that she's like, we got this, we doing it. We gonna be going to either each other's graduation, or we gonna throw a party, we gonna do something. So it's great.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Sabrina. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, I want you to catch this, okay? So I just had two people share. Okay, so Sashi, I had you share, Sabrina, I had you share. Just by sharing this person and what you feel about them. Sashi, if you wouldn't mind me coming back to you very quickly. How do you feel right now, just sharing this kind of appreciation and gratitude for that person?
I feel, I don't know, I feel good being able to put it out there that I do have someone that has my back all the time.
Yeah, thank you. Sabrina, how do you feel? Just check in with yourself. If you had to look inward right now and say, hey, I just talked about, my righty holding me down, believing in me, just sharing it. If you had to check in and describe, what words would you use to explain how you feel emotionally right now? Just by expressing about how you feel about your righty.
Emotional. That's exactly what it made me feel.
Yeah.
To like sit back and think about it. Like I always say it, but to say it again to, like, I guess the people who don't know her. So it kind of makes me very emotional.
Yeah.
And I probably don't even tell her thank you enough. But I know she knows it, but I know I don't say it enough to her.
Right. So this is and you actually just said the magic right there, Sabrina. I want you to catch this, right? You said some magic. So those feelings that you have, those emotional feelings, right? That that great feeling, that's always there. There's no doubt in my mind that this person knows that to be true. I don't doubt that they know it, but do you feel how just by expressing it, you feel differently? It's not about knowing it. This is the key, and I want to guess this. There's a lot of people that navigate through this kind of idea of building a bunker. You have someone like Jason who goes super hard for every single one of you, right? You got someone like Sashi who's clearly showing up and doing her thing. It's very easy to go, yo, they know I appreciate them. I ain't got to say it, but when you actually become present to sharing it, that's where the magic happens. So one of the things that I would actually challenge all of you to do, those of you who, answered, I challenge you to actually call up or invite you to call up that person. So Sabrina, when you go have drinks, I want you to be like, yo, I did this session with this guy who kind of looks like Shamar Moore's less successful brother, Shamar Less, right? And he said to name someone that really means a lot to you and why. And I want to tell you that I named you and here's why. Sasha, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to call this person up and be like, yo, they asked me to do this exercise. They said, who me? And I want to tell you, I chose you and here's why. And I want you to share it with the person. And I just want you to see what happens when you actually play in that kind of space, when you play that kind of game in life. Because what I've observed over and over and over again, and let me share this with you, is, pull this back up. If you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you're around people that support you and are willing to communicate that you are supported by them and you support them and back and forth, your future is going to be really bright. If you don't share and everyone's kind of moving as individuals, it's going to be tough. So there's a quote that has served me for a very long time, and I heard it when I was in college, and it totally changed the way I decided who I will spend my time with. You will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you spend your time with a bunch of knuckleheads, you're going to be a knucklehead. If you spend your time with people who are leaders, you're probably going to become a leader. When I heard this quote, it gave me permission to choose wisely of the people I chose to spend my time with. You know, I started spending time with, like Bert, who's on this call. He's been one of my best friends since college. And he was the type of person that said, this guy's moving in a direction that I would want to move in. And I had to stop hanging out with people who I was like, they're not moving in a direction that I would want to move in. I gave myself that permission, and it's been honestly one of the best decisions. It's nothing that there's anything wrong with those people. I'm sure they're fine people. But you have to be very particular about who you build your bunker with. And what I can tell you is the types of people that show up on these kinds of calls, that's a really good person to choose. Because one of the things you also have to be aware of, something called energy vampires. There are some people in your life that every time you interact with them, they suck energy from you and they don't give energy to you. So if you're in a bunker and you're like, yo, they got my back, I got theirs, but every time you're around them, you feel less drained, or you feel more drained and less energized, that might be a sign that it's time to find a new bunker. What I can tell you is that if you start realizing that the game to play now is being around people that support you, and the moment you don't find they do, you've got to be around new people. So the question people ask me all the time is, well, how do I find new people? You come to events like this. You look at the participants at an event like this, and simply by trusting the process and falling in love with the process and not destroying the bunker's safety, you'll put yourself in a position to move faster. So I'll leave you with this. And then, well, actually, I'm going to show you this, and I got one more thing I want to do for you, but I think this is important. This is an idea that I think is just wildly valuable. When you look at the bunker, you have a choice of being one of 3 people. When you show up to the Hostess Leadership Academy, when you start being here, you can be one of 3 people. So I want you to imagine you got a big old pot of boiling water. That boiling water represents the challenges and the difficulty of life, the heat of life, okay? The first person you can choose to be is an egg. Now, out of curiosity, if you put an egg in boiling water and you leave it there long enough, what do you think happens?
It rots.
You get a hard-boiled egg, okay? So an egg in boiling water left long enough becomes a hard-boiled egg, right? Exactly. Breakfast 101. So the challenge is that some of us, when life gave us heat, it gave us the difficulty of life. We responded by hardening on the inside. We stopped trusting people. We started becoming cynical. Everything was one of those 4 things that destroys the bunker safety. We either polarized, or we catastrophized, or we personalized, right? We did all these things that harden us because of the environment. The second kind of person you can choose to be is a carrot. Now, if I take that same pot of boiling water, but this time I put a carrot in it, and I leave the carrot in the boiling water long enough, what's gonna happen to the carrot, y'all? Yeah, that's right. It's gonna turn to mush. It's gonna soften. This represents the person when life gave them a difficult go, they softened on the inside. They no longer trust themselves like they once did. They no longer believe in their own voice like they once did. So maybe instead of walking up to someone and introducing yourself, you go, well, they're never going to want to talk to me. They're cool and they're fine. They're not going to want to be friends with someone like me. You soften on the inside. But there's a third kind of person, y'all. And you can choose to be this person. It's a very simple choice. And that person is the coffee bean. What happens when you introduce boiling water to coffee beans? They become coffee. They actually affect the environment. They create energy. Now, here's what's fascinating about a coffee bean. A raw coffee bean does not make coffee, if you're unaware of how coffee works. The coffee beans have to actually get roasted first, which means they have to be applied to heat. Heat has to be applied to them. And when the heat's applied to the coffee bean, Then when it gets exposed to the hot water, the life, it can bring out its best. So sometimes the stuff that happened to you in the past, the heat, actually has prepared you for this moment so you can bring out the best version of yourself. The environment affects the egg. The environment affects the carrot. The coffee bean affects the environment. Are you going to be the person that reaches out to your friend and tells them what you appreciate about them? Are you going to be the one that finds someone within Hostess and invites them to be a part of your study group, or to be part of, invite them to come to a community service event? Are you going to be that coffee bean that will take the action so you can change the environment? And yes, for anyone who wants to get technical, there is cold brew coffee. Yes, I understand that's a thing. However, if you want to get it fast, quick, and strong, you need that boiling water. You need that environment. So my question to you is, will you be the bean for the Hostess team? That's a slant rhyme, people. Bean, team. See what I'm doing there, Jason? Bean, team, rhymes. That's why I went there. Be the bean for the Hostess team. Be that person that you say, you know what? I want the environment to change. I want to create this great experience. Don't wait for Jason to do it. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Create it. Be that bean. Be that person that adds a little bit of experience. Add that person that adds a little bit of like, yo, what kind of environment do I want to create? I'm going to go out and I'm going to create it. So let me do this. I want to open up. Yeah, I'm going to do something I almost never do. Hold on. Where my slides at? All right. Out of curiosity, how many people here felt like they learned at least one concept that was valuable to them? At least one idea that you can take with you and use, okay? If you get the idea, okay? Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sashi. Here's what I'd love for you to do. I want you to take 2 minutes and give me your feedback on this particular presentation, okay? I want to know what you liked about it so I can do less of it. let me put this in the chat here. I want to know what you disliked about it. Hold on, my chat. Golly, why is Zoom doing this? It's so weird. There we go. All right. Zoom is back. There we go. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is click on that link right there in the chat, okay? And when you get to this very quick survey, I want you to put in the code BUNKER, okay? And if you put that in, you'll get actually this summary, this PDF that I put together that's going to give you some really important review of the things that we talked about here, okay? So your feedback helps me get my message in front of more people. I want to know what you liked about it, especially in the virtual world, so I can do more of it. And again, what you disliked about it, so I can do less of it. You can't hurt my feelings. I want to get your feedback. So take 1 to 2 minutes or so to fill out this survey. Let me know what your thoughts are. And then I'll leave you with one more thing before we go. And if you would be so kind, when you're done taking the survey, just put done into the chat so I know that you're finished. And when I see a couple of those come in, I'll leave us with our final part before we say goodbye for the day. Okay. So I'll give you 2 minutes to do it now. Thank you, Sashi. I'll wait a couple more moments and then I'll leave you with a final thought. Awesome. All right, thank you, Annie. So thank you, Sabrina. So continue to take it. When you're done taking it, I look at every single one of these. I truly appreciate it. So I'll leave you with this before we go. Every single decision that we make now has the opportunity to affect our future. If I could give you one piece of feedback that could change your trajectory moving forward, it's simply this. Surround yourself with people that make you feel like you're in a bunker, where you feel safe. And if you don't have those people, go create that. Go reach out to people. Don't wait for them to find you. Don't wait for them to invite you into that place of safety. Create it. And realize that what you've been doing may not necessarily get you where you need to go. And who you've been with may not necessarily take you where you want to go. So what we need to do is actually create that bunker, and we don't destroy its safety. We become the being. We've got to reach out to folks. One of the most important things that I want you to take from this is that gratitude cannot coexist with anger. So if you're ever feeling frustrated or upset, in the same way Sashi and Sabrina was so kind to share with us, immediately, just by sharing this incredible gratitude that they have for people in their life, their sense of well-being went up. That feeling was always there. All we did was bring it to the surface. So what I encourage you to do is bring those feelings to the surface, because that's where the true change will start developing in your life. And this is where tomorrow will be way more exciting for you, because you know you've got people that got your back, that you can go grab drinks and do whatever with and talk to, as long as you're over 21. If not, drink some iced tea, okay? But if you don't have it, create it. And if you create it and you hold on to it, that's going to be one of the single most important things that takes you into a place that you start getting introduced and connected to people that will change the course of your life. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you like this presentation, my name is Arel Moodie. If you dislike this presentation, my name is Kanye West. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate y'all. That boy got enough going on right now, so I figure we just throw him under the bus a little bit more. All right, Jason, thank you so much for having me as always, brother.
Thank you, Arel. So I have to say, I listen, as every time you come, I listen to you. I'm always inspired by what you share. My hair's a little fluffy today. I don't know what's going on. So what I was doing, actually, one of the things I was doing behind the scenes here was I was texting some folks who I knew were like maybe slipping up and just, or slowing down, or maybe looking down on themselves, and I was just checking in with them. And I think, you know, that for me, they're all former members of the leadership program. So for me, you remind me that my job is never done, that there's always a role that I have to play. I want to be one of the 5 people in the room to bring people up and get them to the places that they want to go. I've had those conversations this week, and I count you as one of the 5 people in my room who always makes me want to do better, make better choices, be a better leader, inspire people in some way, shape, or form. I can't do it the same way that you do it, my friend, but I'll do it the way that I can do it. So let's give Arel a round of applause, however you do that in this virtual world. I'll say this, I miss you being in the same space as me. I miss the bear hug. I miss the conversation.
Same, brother.
So Arel and I were talking real early before the workshop started about the early days when he brought his mom, he brought his dad, he brought his friends, he brought his fiance, who eventually became his wife. Yeah. He hasn't brought his kids yet, but you know, everybody else has come along to see him do his thing at Hostos in person, in our student lounge or in our Savoy multi-purpose room over the years. And so I miss you, my friend, and I have an enormous amount of respect for you. The way that you hone yourself as a human being, as a dad, as a husband. I watch it and I admire it, and I think about it and talk about it in my own personal life. And I want you to know that I have a great deal of love for you, and I always will. And I respect the fact that over the 15 years you've come and done this without hesitation, and that you've inspired and offered connections to other people who have decided to come and do this too. It's not always the easiest thing to do when you have a busy schedule like yourself, or the busy schedules of a lot of the people who you've recommended to me. But the fact that you give of your time to come here and make an impact on the students of Hostos Community College means a great deal to me. And I know that over the years, all of the people who've participated in these programs in person and virtual feel blessed and privileged to know you. And so I thank you really for that. And I wish you all the best and love to your family. And, you know, this is a conversation that goes on and on. You know, we text message each other, we send messages through Facebook Messenger. It's not, and I always love, the one thing I'll say here for the cameras, like every day before the workshop, he's the only person who ever does this. He sends me a message, says, I'm so hyped for tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, I am too. And so most people just like, they sign on at like, you know, 5 minutes before, and they're like, I'm ready to go. I'm doing my thing. But Arel is like, I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'm coming. And then we also talk about the stories of all the successful stories and people who reflect on you. In the postings that I did on social media over the last couple of days, a lot of people who had participated over the years were writing notes saying how important you were in their lives and their experience in their leadership training, wanting to know when this was going to happen and where it was going to be. And so I wanted you to know that. I'm sure you see that as well. But, you know, you've made an impact on so many people. I remember that in the early days when you made us form a human chair, that was so magical. I will always remember that. I have that picture up on my wall, I think. And I think about that all the time. That was amazing. And I still remember when you talked about the time that you jumped, or you were gonna jump off of the bridge because your friend did. I remember the first story that you ever told. It's a story that I wish I knew how to tell as well as you told it, about what happens if the last day of your life comes, you're on your grave, or you're in your deathbed, and all of your dreams come back and say, why didn't you give me life? And I think about, those are real tangible memories, real parts of my existence, and conversations that I've had with people over the years who took the workshop and learned these things from you and talk about them and help them along their journey. So as Arel said in this workshop today, it may not hit you right now. What he said may not fully get in there, right? It's the week before Thanksgiving. You're thinking about how you're going to get that turkey, you know, all that good stuff, or what you're going to do with the little break that you got next week, or if you're going to volunteer next week, how that's going to work out. It may not hit you right now, but it's always going to be here. And it's one day, one of those thoughts or all of those thoughts are going to sink in, and you're going to realize how powerful the message is and what it means to you on your journey. And the other thing I'll say is that he lives the message, right? The 5 people, right? That I know Bert, and I know Phil, and I know a bunch of people who are friends with Arel, who he relies on as his 5, you know, or, you know, his crew that keep him up and like build him up. And they're amazing people too. Thank you, Bert, for being here today. I mean, Bert is an extraordinary individual. Phil is an extraordinary individual. And it's just like, so he did it from where we all come from, right? Even though it was Brooklyn, we'd take it. He did it from where all we come from. I'm 50 years in the Bronx, right? And I had to work my way out of, you know, all of the struggles that I had to go through. A lot of you are doing that now. Arel had to do that. And so thank you, Arel, for that. I know I talked too much here at the end, but I just wanted you to know how much I love you and how much I appreciate you, and how powerful the message is to me, and how powerful the message has been all of the years that we've done this, because people always come back and say, yo, Arel, where is he? Let me talk to him. Because that message, that day in person, we formed that human chair, he told that story. I thought about jumping off that bridge and seeing if I could do it. All that stuff, it all resurfaces, and people still talk about it to this day. So thank you, brother.
Jason, thank you for living. Thank you for being living proof of all the things that we talked about here today. You know, to hear you say those things, I'd like to share for everyone that I've always said that Jason is a representation of what leadership is supposed to be. Someone who cares and goes the extra mile. And, you know, everything you said, I receive it and I appreciate it. And I hope that every one of you on this session takes advantage of the fact that you can have a relationship with someone like Jason. Because when you see really special people, you don't let go of them. And you fall into that category for me, Jason. So to hear you say those things about me is truly special. And I hope that everyone realizes how lucky they are to have a leader like you that they can access, who genuinely gives a damn when a lot of people can dial it in. And for 15 years, you've never dialed it in. You've always been present. And it's an honor to work with you to make a difference, brother.
Thank you so much, Earl. So I usually would call out names and just say, goodbye to everybody, but I'll use this time a little bit more wisely because we won't have a workshop next week. I'm going to ask you all to really consider coming out on Tuesday and volunteering and giving out the food that we're going to give out in the Savoy multipurpose room. This is an opportunity for you to really make an impact in a very significant way on a Tuesday before, this holiday where people just get together and spend time with their family, but come out and give back, make a difference for all of those folks who are struggling. That's one. And two, take some time next week. We don't have a workshop. You're going to have a few days off from school and really enjoy the people who you love, right? Whatever that is. If that's your friends, cool. If it's that's your family, that's cool. And I'll tell you this one little story. From the beginning, from the first couple of years when we were here, we had so many international students that were a part of the academy that they couldn't go home, right? There was nowhere to go to for 3 days, right, of a holiday, right? And they were hearing all about these people having dinners and parties and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, why don't we just get together? Why don't we just go to somebody's place and just everybody brings a dish, everybody brings whatever they bring, and we all share it. And we did that. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I had ever had. It really made me feel like I was connected to the group. It really made me feel like I had a family. And we have tried to continue that over the last 15 years of like, we are a family and we can come together. We can meet each other where we are and we can share in these events as if we were a family. And I love those people. Yesterday I was texting Elizabeth Sariano, who's like one of that group. And just like she put up a picture from 2008, I said, who's that person? It's like, so we have to reflect on, we got a little older, we got a little grayer, whatever it is. But we have those memories together of, that Thanksgiving where it was us. And I was talking at the booth the other day, I told them about a time that a large group of us went away, traveled together for New Year's. We are a family. You may not feel like you're a part of a family yet, but the moment you embrace it, the moment you say you want to be a part of it, you are the family. So as part of my family, I wish you all peace and love and rest over these next few days. Whether you're watching football, or whether you're eating something, or whether you're just hanging out with your friends because you're getting a stress relief before the finals. I love you. I respect you. I really appreciate you all being here for this phenomenal workshop from my friend Arel Moodie. And I will be seeing you. And I hope I see you on Tuesday because I'll be taking pictures of all of you doing the good work.
Guys. Jason, what time is Tuesday?
12 to 5, we'll be giving it out at the Savoy. And the president's going to be there. So if you want a picture with the president, not the president of the United States, the president of the college is going to be
Can I come
there.
after class?
Yeah, sure.
So I can still help you guys?
Yes, come.
Okay, I'll come then. All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Arel, Bert, good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Friday.
To you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Real quick, before everyone goes, do you know what the what's the opposite of a hot pepper?
What is
a little chili.
With that, I say goodbye. God bless. I love you.
Bye.
Little chili.
See you on Tuesday.
It's opposites. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Arel. Take care, everybody. Bye.